What if I told you? You've been breathing wrong your entire life. And worse, that the very thing keeping you alive is just two sweaty bags in your chest throwing microscopic tantrums every time you climb stairs? Lungs are nature's way of saying, you're not a fish anymore. Figure it out. Before we inhale too deep, do your lungs a favor. Subscribe, like, and exhale all that trapped existential tension. This story's about to get breathlessly weird, long before lungs breathing wasn't even a thing. Early life forms were tiny, lazy, and completely underwater. They got what they needed through diffusion, gas oozing directly into their membranes. No noses, no lungs, no drama. Think of it as living by vibes and osmosis. Then oxygen showed up. Roughly 2.4 billion years ago, cyanobacteria, tiny blue-green trolls of the microbial world, figured out photosynthesis. They started spewing oxygen into the oceans like it was trendy. Spoiler, nobody wanted it. Oxygen was toxic to early anaerobic life. It rusted everything it touched. The Earth literally changed color as iron oxidized. It was called the Great Oxygenation Event, but it might as well have been. Oops, all oxygen, the apocalypse edition. Life had two options: die, adapt, and make the best of it. Some tiny rebels went with option 2 and accidentally invented aerobic respiration, which, surprise, was way more efficient than the old method. Cue dramatic music. Life's about to level up. Oxygen was powerful, but it required access. Single-celled organisms evolved tiny surface channels. Multicellular creatures, they needed air delivery systems. First came gills, nature's underwater accordion. Then, slowly, awkwardly, came lungs. Except they didn't start as lungs. They started as air bladders, weird sacs helping fish stay buoyant. Eventually, some genius fish decided, why not breathe into it? Congratulations! Your entire respiratory system started as a glorified balloon accident. Life on land was a disaster at first. Everything was dry, gravity was offensive, and air wasn't nearly as breathable as water if you didn't have the tools. But some ambitious amphibians hauled themselves onto land, clutching proto-lungs and high hopes. Their lungs were, okay, two squishy sacs, inflated manually by throat pumping. Amphibians still use this method. It's like reverse CPR, and it looks ridiculous. But it worked. Barely. Reptiles improved the design. Birds perfected it. Mammals did something in between. Let's be honest, human lungs are functional, but not exactly elegant. They're prone to collapse. Dependent on diaphragm drama full of branching tubes that collect dust like a forgotten air filter. Instead of one clean loop like birds, our lungs use dead-end sacs, alveoli, which means air comes in. Oxygen gets extracted, CO2 gets shoved out, but a bit of air always just lingers. It's like breathing into a party balloon that refuses to leave the house after midnight. Breathing isn't just lungs, it's muscle choreography. Enter the diaphragm, a dome-shaped sheet of muscle that moves up and down like a depressed trampoline. Inhale, it contracts and flattens. Exhale, it relaxes and pops back up. It works constantly. It sighs when you're sad. It hiccups when it glitches. And it never asks for thanks. But if it stops working, you stop everything. Now that we breathe air, we've inherited a few complications. Sneezing, your nose's way of saying evacuate. Coughing, the lungs' rage scream. Yawning, we still don't fully know why. Oxygen, boredom, primal social signaling. Hiccups, an ancient leftover reflex from fish gill movement. Seriously, hyperventilation, panic mode, now with bonus dizziness. Snoring, proof that even in sleep your airway has opinions. And let's not forget talking, the ultimate misuse of exhaled air for complicated social nonsense. Humans may wheeze up staircases, but the animal world, it has lungs that laugh at our evolutionary compromises. Let's take a tour. 1. Birds. Nature's overachievers. Bird lungs are ridiculous. While humans use a breathe-in, breathe-out method, birds use a one-way airflow system. Air flows in a continuous loop, passing through parabronchi instead of dead-end sacs. Result, no stale air, constant oxygen exchange. No panting necessary, can fly over Everest like it's a casual jog. Birds don't breathe. They aerate like high-efficiency machines with feathers. 2. Frogs. Breathing through their skin. No, really. Frogs have lungs, sure, but they also breathe through their skin, especially underwater. Their skin is thin, moist, and filled with capillaries. It's like having an organic scuba suit that doubles as armor against dry jokes. It works great unless they dry out. Then it's less breathing and more emergency situation. 3. Spiders. Book lungs. Not as fun as they sound. Spiders have book lungs. Stacked, flat, leaf-like structures where gas exchange happens. Imagine lungs made of little pages. Cute, right? Until you realize they're inside an arachnid with fangs and too many knees. Bonus: scorpions have them too. So, if you ever read a spider, know that its lungs are judging you silently. 4. Sea cucumbers. Breathe through their butts. Yes, that's not a joke. Sea cucumbers use a cloacal respiratory tree to pump water in and out of their posterior region, extracting oxygen along the way. Nature looked at evolution and said, function first. Dignity, optional. 5. Turtles. That breathe through their butt. Yes, them too. The Australian Fitzroy River turtle can perform cloacal respiration, essentially butt breathing, when underwater for long periods. Again, no dignity, but impressive. If you ever feel bad about your lung capacity, just remember, at least you're not inhaling pond water from your rear end. Your lungs were not built for today's world. Originally designed for clean air, high humidity, and zero traffic, they now contend with microplastics, car exhaust, vapes burnt toast, that one coworker's cologne, every forest fire within a 600-mile radius. Add to that stress, anxiety, indoor life, and the invention of candles that smell like haunted libraries and your lungs are on edge. Your immune system has one job: defend the body. But sometimes it gets bored and attacks harmless things like pollen dust, pet dander. Air, yes, your own lungs can decide that air is the enemy. That's what asthma is, a hyper-reactive response to perceived threats. Result? Tight chest, wheezing, rescue inhaler, existential despair, all because your body decided spring is a personal insult. Breathing is usually automatic, until it's not. Panic attacks often begin with shallow breathing. This triggers a feedback loop. You breathe fast, you feel dizzy, your brain says something's wrong. You breathe faster, it's the world's worst karaoke loop. But it also shows how deeply connected your lungs and emotions are. Every sigh, yawn, gasp, and held breath is part of a dialogue between your brain and your body, one that's full of confusion and occasional screaming. Quick pop quiz. Are you breathing through your nose or mouth? If it's your mouth, sorry. Nose breathing is superior. Filters air, warms it, humidifies it, releases nitric oxide, which helps oxygen absorption. Mouth breathing is what we do when we're stressed, congested, or trying to eat popcorn and talk at the same time. Chronic mouth breathing can lead to dry mouth snoring, poor sleep, weird jaw development. Feeling like a sad goldfish, your lungs want your nose to do the heavy lifting. They're just too polite to say it out loud. Let's not forget that speaking is just decorated breathing. Your lungs push air through the trachea, over the vocal cords, and out through the mouth, shaping vibrations with your lips and tongue. And somehow this process lets you order tacos, tell stories, whisper secrets, start wars, sing off-key in the shower. No other species uses breath this way. We turned exhaling into language, then used it to explain what lungs are. The irony is beautiful, and a little loud. You'd think lungs, being so critical, would have been evolution's finest work. But no, lungs are one big patch job. Instead of one brilliant design, we got a branching mess of airways alveoli with the structural integrity of wet paper. A diaphragm that's not connected to the lungs at all, but just kind of hangs out underneath. Why? Because lungs didn't evolve from scratch. They evolved from air bladders and fish guts, repurposed into something barely functional on land. Nature didn't design lungs. It recycled organs and hoped no one would notice. It's like duct taping leaf blowers to a jellyfish and calling it a respiratory system. Most people think they can't hold their breath very long. In reality, your lungs are fine. Your brain just panics early. What triggers the urge to breathe isn't lack of oxygen. It's a rise in carbon dioxide levels. Your body hates CO2 buildup and will sound the alarm way before things get dangerous. Fun facts. Average person, 30-60 seconds. Trained free diver, 4 to 8 minutes world record with oxygen pre-breathing. Over 24 minutes. So yes, you could hold your breath longer. Your brain just gets dramatic about it. Breathing is supposed to be rhythmic. Then emotion steps in and says, let's mess with that. Laughter? A series of irregular exhalations caused by diaphragm spasms. Crying? Same, but wetter. Sobbing? Add vocal cord tremors. Screaming? Full lung expulsion with pitch control. Singing? Controlled chaos with melodic intentions. Your lungs don't understand emotion. They just get dragged into the drama. The lungs were never meant for liquids. They're air-exclusive real estate. But if even a bit of water sneaks in, the alveoli collapse. Gas exchange halts, panic ensues. You get coughing fits that sound like you're trying to expel a demon. Inhaling liquid, Laststeiner, instant emergency. Even milk or soda going down the wrong pipe is enough to make your lungs declare war. So how do aquatic mammals breathe? They don't do it underwater, they hold their breath. Whales, dolphins, and seals are champions of oxygen budgeting, storing it in blood and muscle. Their lungs collapse safely at depth to avoid damage. Meanwhile, you choked on iced coffee last week. Humans eventually figured out that when lungs fail, we might be able to cheat. Enter artificial respiration, a wildly experimental history. Ancient Persia. People tried blowing air into lungs using bellows 1500s. Some doctors literally used fireplace tools to revive the nearly dead 1700s. The tobacco smoke enema was a thing. Yes, blowing smoke up the rectum. We wish we were kidding. 1900s. Iron lungs for polio patients. Giant chambers using pressure to simulate breathing. Today, CPAPs, ventilators, ECMO machines. High-tech solutions that keep air moving even when the lungs say, no thanks. From fire to fiber optics, we've been desperately trying to keep air inside people. And it's all because lungs are fragile, sensitive, and somehow essential. The lungs are extremely picky. Too much CO2? Panic. Not enough oxygen? Panic. Too much air? Pop a lung. Dust? Freak out. Cold air? Contract the bronchi. Perfume? Declare war. They're like dramatic houseplants, constantly responding to invisible changes, wilting when ignored, and extremely vocal about their discomfort. But they also adapt. Altitude, they'll grow more red blood cells. Exercise, they'll increase efficiency. Cold weather, they'll warm and humidify the air like sad little furnaces. They're not easygoing, but they're loyal, right up until they're not. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Oxygen is both essential and dangerous. Yes, it fuels cellular respiration, but it also produces free radicals, unstable molecules that damage DNA and age your tissues. Breathing keeps you alive, but it also slowly wears you down. It's like having a roommate who pays rent but occasionally stabs the furniture. We need oxygen, but too much? We call that oxidative stress, and it's linked to aging, cancer, inflammation, degeneration. So every breath is a double-edged sword, comforting. Inhale, exhale. But it's never just that. Breathing is a signal, a rhythm, a pattern you can read. You can hear someone's anxiety in their breath. You can feel someone's love in a sigh. You can know someone's lying by how long they hold silence before answering. Breathing speaks. Before words, beyond words. And the lungs? They're your voice's drummer, always keeping time, even when the lyrics fall apart. Breathing isn't just about oxygen, it's about control. We're one of the few animals that can consciously alter our breath. Most creatures just do it automatically. We can slow it down, hold it, match it to music, use it to trick our own brains, which is why breathing shows up in meditation, singing martial arts, giving birth, dealing with your family over the holidays. Control the breath, control the moment. That's not spiritual fluff, that's neurophysiology. A sigh isn't just emotional, it's mechanical maintenance. Your lungs naturally collapse a little over time. A sigh is a deep inhale that reinflates collapsed alveoli and keeps things functioning. Translation? Sighs keep your lungs from falling asleep at the wheel. But yes, they also signal boredom relief, frustration, the exact moment you give up on everything and decide to eat cereal for dinner. It's biology, and a little drama. The gasp is primal. Your diaphragm yanks down, your lungs fill, your eyes widen. It's a full-body alert. Whether it's a jump scare, cold water, or realizing you hit reply all, a gasp is your body's version of, get ready, something dumb is about to happen. It floods your system with oxygen, primes your muscles, and may cause you to freeze completely anyway. But hey, at least you're frozen and well oxygenated. Every breath has rhythm, but like all rhythms, it ends. The final breath, slow, shallow, sometimes ragged, marks the moment lungs say, we've done enough. It's weird to think something so automatic can just stop. No fanfare, no speech, just stillness. And yet, in that moment, the lungs, which have never once taken a break, finally rest. It's not just death, it's completion. But let's not get too dark, because breath doesn't just end life, it starts it. The very first thing a newborn does, inhales, and it's violent. Those first gulps of air are loud, shocking, and completely necessary. They inflate the lungs for the first time like someone blowing up a balloon that forgot it was supposed to exist. That cry? That's the lungs saying, we're online, let's go. From that moment on, it's 20,000 plus breaths a day, every day until you don't. Here's a comforting or unsettling thought. Most of your body is solid, but your breath is what moves. It's your internal tide, your invisible anchor, the ghost that powers the machine. Without it, you're just meat. With it, you're alive, thinking, speaking, moving, regretting that third burrito. Your lungs don't need praise. They don't need credit. They just want clean air and maybe a little bit of nasal breathing now and then. You're not jelly anymore. You're scaffolding, fluid, intention, held together by a rhythm that started before you knew yourself. And now that you know how absurd, fragile, over-engineered, and beautiful your lungs are, take a deep breath. Seriously, right now. Inhale, hold it. Now exhale slowly. That's you. That's all of you. In motion. If you breathe during this video, congratulations, your lungs still work. Like if you've ever sighed for no reason. Subscribe if your diaphragm deserves better. Comment with your weirdest breath-related moment. Hiccup symphonies welcome. Until then, breathe responsibly and maybe crack a window.